I started to look at all sides of things, and I mean, every religion has things in it that make sense. Some don't make sense. So I would say now I just maintain I maintain a personal relationship with God.
Welcome to the Olive Roots podcast. I'm your host, Chose Ayub. And today I have a dear friend. He's a jack of all trades. He's an actor, filmmaker, DJ, and musician. I want you to welcome Kevin Miller, aka Profisi Kev. Yay!
What's the
What's
deal,
going
Josie?
on, man?
Man, I'm doing well, man. Glad to be here with you. I think you're probably one of the only people that can get me to do something like this. So you know I love you, brother.
I love you too, man. I love you too. I know you don't like to do much podcasts, but hey, it's good for people to hear your story, man.
So I've heard. So I've heard. So here I
Yeah,
am.
I believe you have a unique story. So let's kick this off with your identity. Pretty much, I want you to talk about where were you born, where were you raised, how were you raised, what kind of things were around you, the family that you had, and then you can transition to when you came to the U.S. and how the transition was to adapt and try to explain or prove who you are and just the struggles of the identity that you had. And then we can move later to the acting world. So just start with your identity, and the stage is yours, man.
So I originally am born in a small but big country, Jamaica, West Indies. Many people have heard of it. It's a small island with over 2.5 million people living there, which a lot of people don't realize for such a small place. It's a lot of population. So that's why people are always trying to get out and go live other places. So that's why you tend to see Jamaicans everywhere because they also have a lot of kids.
Hmm.
Um, Hence the fact that I as well come from a huge family. My mom, she has seven siblings, eight, you could say eight. We had an uncle that was uh, also like a sibling of hers, right? My dad, he also had four, and each one of them had multiple kids, as well as my my grandparents. We grew up very close with their siblings' children as well. So our second cousins were no different than first cousins to us, right? Very huge family.
Hmm.
And Jamaica is a country with rich culture. So I grew up Christian. My grandfather was the bishop superintendent for Jamaica. My At the time, my mom's mom. So I grew up in what you would say like on the church bench,
Mm.
where you're in church multiple days a week. Prayer meeting, all night prayer meeting, Bible study. Like that was my life growing up. Yeah, in Jamaica, I went to a prep school, so I lived in Kingston. Kingston is the part of Kingston. I was in the suburbs, St. Andrews, so they'll call that uptown, right? So I grew up proper. My dad was a businessman. He owned a car rental agency there. So I went to prep school, uh, and that was pretty much my upbringing: church, family. I was always into sports, but I've always been into the arts as long as I can remember. Singing, music. My mom and all her siblings played instruments, so we would just chant and make music all the time. They had a band actually, and they were probably one of the first to pioneer reggae music in church. So they used to play like reggae style music in gospel, and it was always looked at weird at the time.
Mm.
Now, it's very common. You have rappers, all of that.
What was the name of the band? Do you know?
I do not know the name of
Oh
the
man,
band.
that'd be awesome, bro. Just putting that back in this world. That'd
you
be really
know,
cool, man.
I have heard some of the music, and it's really good. They all play instruments, and I always kind of emulated that growing up. I remember one time my grandfather came from church, And you know, there was a really big house. So my mom, she's from the country, right? So it's a parish called Saint Andrew, a town called Tanglewood, and my grandfather had a big house on top of the hill. So it was like a land to the side of the house that it was like, we don't really call it a gully, but it's like, you know, uncultivated land, right? Just banana
What
trees.
is the word gully means?
So gully is like so like where the water, it's like a water canal. I think you see them in California a lot, right? But
Mm.
like Jamaica, sometimes they'll call almost anything a gully. It's like the side where you know, like it catches a lot of garbage, ends up there. Water. It's I don't really want to call it a sewage system per se,
Is it like a
but it's
stream?
correct. But it's like a man-made stream that collects water and channel stuff out of, so it kind of runs to the gully and goes out. So it wasn't quite a gully, it was really uncultivated land, really. And you know, I would hang out there all the time and swing on the vines and you know, pretend to be Tarzan and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's cool.
I remember one day I had like a bunch of paint cans or whatever that they were doing from renovating the house, and I would set them up like a drum set. I'm out there just going on, and I come up now. I'm dirty, right? I'm dirty, and my grandfather coming home from church. Said, "Kevin, where you coming from?" So I was down in the. So gave me the look like, "What you was doing down there?" I was like,
He
um.
knows you're getting into some trouble.
Right. I was like, no, I was knocking the pans. He said, knocking the, yeah, like playing drum. So he gave me a look, and I was like, well, that kind of makes sense. Did he just did he just drove off?
That's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
miss him
Okay. So
so
you
much.
grew up. So you grew up around music that was already around you with family and friends. All right.
Yeah, and you know, the arts. I've always had a passion for just visual arts, also, because a lot of that influence, you know, like my uncles, they draw as well, and I came to realize that artists usually don't have one art form that they stick to. This is my first way of realizing that. Like the ones who could sing and play really well usually had other talents artistically. And I
Mm.
used to could draw as well. So I got into that as well. And you know, I even remember I had got a toy camera back in the day. It connects to a VCR. So
VCR.
yeah.
I'll put a
So
picture of that for the young hustlers. You know, VCR. They
yeah.
don't know
So
what
to
that is,
put you
man.
guys on. So
Yeah.
this was before cell phones. I mean, cell phones were around, but it was cheap. It was a toy pretty much. But the point of it was a cheap version of a video camera, because camcorders were real popular in the 90s, right?
Hmm.
So this was pretty much just I guess the equivalent to like a webcam, but it was an actual camcorder. You could zoom and do all of that. And you know, we would record the camera on the VHS, so it had to connect to the VHS to work. So we had that, bro, and me, my brother, and my cousins, we made a movie, bro. We made a we made, and there was no final cut, there was no Da Vinci, we couldn't edit, so we had to we had to shoot each scene as it was done, right? So, and if we messed up, we got to rewind the tape, and then somebody had to hit record and then action and hit record, and then we did the scene out like a play,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
we
yeah.
pieced it together like that. So
Well, hold on. Before we move on to the acting, because I know you're already there, I want to I want to focus on more the identity factor. I see the influence on the music and the filmmaking, but being born in Jamaica around that kind of lifestyle, tell me about your move to the US and that.
moving to the US, I think looking back, I didn't realize it was a superpower at the time. You go through identity crisis because
Yeah.
You know, you talk different, you look different, your idea of fashion was different. You know, like in Jamaica, as a I was pretty popular. I was, I was a cool kid in Jamaica. I come here, and this was before it was popular to be Jamaican, at least to my understanding. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You see what people are wearing, and they're wearing all these nice name brand clothes, and you're like, "Yo, what's that?" And we used to do what was cool for us wasn't cool for them at that time. And yeah, it was just a bit of a culture shock, man. And people would laugh at the way you pronounce certain words. And mind you, I'm from Uptown, right? So we talked, I want to say, more understandable English than Patois. Like in school, in prep school, we talked English. We didn't really talk Patois.
Yeah.
That was like
Yeah.
street language, right?
Is it like British English that you guys were taught?
Pretty much, yes,
Yeah.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Same
So,
here. Yeah.
so the way we spoke, people from Uptown, it's legible to people, right? It's not like somebody from the hood or somebody from country can understand, right?
Yeah.
So there was also that, like, well, you don't quite sound Jamaican. It's like that they know, you know what I mean? They just used to, it was more almost British to a point, right? When
Yeah.
they would hear my dad talk and stuff like that. So there was also that factor. And then even just trying to understand those differences. To me, it wasn't different. Like we would go certain parts, and then like when I would go visit my mom's family in the country, they would laugh at how we talk too, because we're from Uptown.
Well, we have that thing back home too. But like, what the heck? Why are you saying it like that?
Right, right. So I never forget. Like for example, one time we went to a little fishing trip with my dad and all of us. We went on these little boats to go out on the little boats. So this is in the country, right? And I could not understand the kids whatsoever. And mind you, I'm in Jamaica. Like, I couldn't understand the other. It's like, just put your body pan and sit on pan this. I'm like, what? Now that I'm
Yeah.
older, right, I understand what the difference in region, right? Like,
Yeah.
they just talk a different dialect than we did uptown, right? So it was so there was also that, man. So because Jamaica is also very Americanized. We used to have a phrase that say if foreign sneeze, Jamaica catch a cold. It's like you get what I'm saying? It's like it takes a little time to,
Oh, that explains everything now. That explains everything. Jamaican time.
So it was also that, like, I was familiar with American culture very much. We had a lot of influence. We used to listen to rap music, especially uptown. Like I remember my cousin, he brought a Heavy D cassette tape to me. It's like, yo, check this out. And this was the first time I'm hearing like cursing like that in music and like rap. I don't think Heavy D was actually crazy. He didn't, but we started to listen to rap, and I'm hearing these mother. I'm like, dang, this is like,
Yeah.
you know. So the culture shock was different. It took a while for me to fully get accustomed to things here. What was cool, and then I found myself trying to mimic the
Mm.
Americans to blend in.
Hmm.
Funny enough, I was pretty good at it. I guess that's where the acting is.
Yeah. 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 You try to blend in. Yeah.
You try, because you're a kid, bro. You try to
Survive.
you try to survive, and you don't like being making fun of. Now that I look back, it was probably them thinking I was cool. You know what I mean? Like when the girls would tease me, it was probably flirting. Now that I look back,
Mm.
say this again, um. So I would try to change who I was to be them until eventually I got older and I realized, like, nah, bro, you are who you are. And a lot of people started to be like, oh, I knew you was Jamaican, but you seem. I'm like, yeah, because I stopped pretending for you guys, and I
Yeah.
decided to be myself, and I realized, like, yo, I am who I am, and I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of
Yeah.
that, you
It's
know.
like you want to be accepted, man. You know, especially when you're young and you go somewhere. Like I came here and I was like, what the heck is this? Black, white, and me. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So I had to understand how these people function and their culture and their language and their swag and their clothes. And yeah, man, it's, you don't want to be looked at like an alien.
Right.
You want to make friends and you want to belong. And you're going to start hanging out with people that kind of look more like you in the beginning. But then you realize, like, man, we have nothing really in common. you
Very
know?
true. Very
Yeah.
true.
And America's cool because you can meet people from all around the world, you know? I'm sure
Yeah.
you have that experience. I mean, we met each other, bro.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
how would that
Right.
happen in Palestine? I'm not gonna meet Jamaicans, bro.
Well, I will say this though. Jamaica, you do meet a lot of people from around the world because of tourism.
Like
It's very
visiting,
big.
yeah.
Visiting. So,
Yeah, we
but
have
that's also
visitors.
different. You just look at them as visitors. You're not
Yeah,
quite like connected with them like you do here. I would totally agree with
yeah.
that.
So tell me about the Jamaican community. Like, you know how America is they call it the melting pot, right?
Yeah.
How was Jamaica like ethnicity wise and look wise, other you know, I know there's a big community of Chinese people. Tell me about the different communities in Jamaica as much as you can remember.
So you're talking culturally within Jamaica or in the States?
No, no, culturally in Jamaica.
So, I would say our biggest population actually is Asian outside of us, black. So you have black primarily, right? Then I would say probably Asian next. So a lot. So that's why you see a lot of Asian Jamaicans, Chinese Jamaicans. Usually they stick to themselves, but you know
Mm.
we you know what I mean it's normal. Like that's like the second largest I would say, and then you have white and Spanish mostly. And Indian, sorry, excuse me, they would kill me. And a lot of Indian as well.
Like Indians from India.
Yeah, but we didn't really look at them because they talk like us, act
Yeah, yeah.
like
Obviously, everybody's Jamaican.
right. But yeah, but
Yeah, yeah,
Indian, yes,
yeah.
yes, East
Because in
East
America,
Indian.
you say Indian, they think you're talking about Native Americans because Christopher
No,
Columbus
no,
was lost.
East, South Asia,
Yeah, yeah,
Indian. So Indian, so Asia, period. Chinese, Asian. I'm
yeah.
saying Chinese because we everybody was to us anyway, because a lot of
China man.
a lot of the Chinaman. We used to say Mr. China or Chinaman. It's not even a disrespecting. It's just
Yeah,
that's just what it is. A lot of them are from China. Very rare. I mean, you had a few Japanese, and that was like from Japan. You know what I mean? It was mostly Chinese. So you're Asian. Period. Then you had Indians from South Asia as well. A lot of Indian, and then I would say white was below the quantity wise was
hello. Yeah,
less
let's think of, yeah,
amount of
yeah,
less
yeah,
populated the
yeah.
whites.
Yeah, I know what you
But
meant, but the people were like, "Hold on a minute."
let's clarify. Let's clarify. Yeah. But yeah, and then white would be the next up there. So yeah, and that was a population wise, and you kind of grew up. I mean, racism wasn't really a thing. I would say it was more colorism was a thing because, and now looking back is usually a status thing because slave trade and all that stuff is very common, and a lot of the landowners were white and descended, so the lighter skinned people usually had some ancestry from them, right? So uptown, you see a lot of the people with money, family lineage, right, were white
Yeah, like
or
old money. Yeah.
old money,
Mm.
right. And I'm pretty sure I have some of that mixed in my blood just based on geographically where I'm from, how my family looks. I'm looking at my grandmother and
Yeah.
my uncles we all look completely I to this day I have not done the ancestry, but my dad's mother, she looks Asian, kind of half Asian, and and her
Do,
mom looks white.
do you have some pictures that you can share with me? This way I can put them here.
I could get some.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could
send
get
me
some
some
pictures
if you
of.
have, man. That would be cool for people to see.
Yeah, I could, a picture of my great grandmother on my dad's side. She looked white. She looked very white. My grandmother looked like she was probably half Asian. Like even my dad, he's dark skinned like me, and he has a blue ring on the outside of his eye. You
Okay,
know.
I'm probably gonna put this picture right here, right now. I'll make a note, but go ahead, continue.
But anyway, yeah, and then my uncles and even on my mom's side as well. Like my great grandfather, he used to wear really long hair, stand straight up. So like in Jamaica, like I mean, before I locked up my hair, I had softer texture hair, so people would always assume I was kind of mixed. I'm like, listen, I mean, but Jamaica has a slogan which I completely agree with. Out of many, one people, because we're all one people, and that's why you would see an Asian Jamaican, a white Jamaican. They're just proud to be Jamaican because it's out of many, one people,
I
and
like that. Out of
and we
many,
and we
one people.
and we stand proud everywhere we go. Like look at like some of the more famous ones that you may see, like Tammy Chin or you know, White Yachty. He's very popular on social media. He starts talking, you're like, oh, he's white. How is he Jamaican? Oh, trust me, he's very much Jamaican. But yeah, but it's out of many one people. Like I when I first met Shozi, I mean, he looks a lot like my cousin.
Mm.
you know, like my blood cousin, but that's how he looks. My auntie them. So
Out
it's
of
yeah,
many, one
one
people. I
people.
like that, man. That's very powerful.
It's very powerful, and that's so we come from a very rich heritage. So coming here, yes, Jamaica had a sense of colorism and classism, but for the most part, it was nothing compared to the States. Like, I mean, yeah, it is what it is, but you just look at it for what it is. Like, yo, them have money, and that's just it. They come from this. You're Mr. Chin grandson, and that's the point period. But no one's like shunning you because you're white or you're black, or you get what I'm saying. Is it wasn't like, I would say, racism per se, and the classism. What, to be honest, you know what Jamaica has more than that. What I would say is pretty privilege. If you're good looking, you get through the doors easier. I would say it's more that than anything else.
It's more about how you look rather than your ethnicity or race.
Yeah, you're handsome, you're pretty. You usually could get around a lot easier. More than anything else. It's
I
funny,
think,
but it's actually kind of true.
yeah, I think that works for women in America, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, let's switch gears now. Let's talk about the acting. So you touched base on it that it started in Jamaica with the old cameras, right? And then eventually you came to the US. Did you pursue that or it was on the back burner? And how did it come back to the front? And what made you want to continue in that path?
So when we were in the States, I would say I've always been kind of intrigued by acting and film, even though I didn't get into it. Doing that movie we did, I was just with my family last week and we were talking about it. And our friend lost the tape. I would love to see that. But yeah, I've always been kind of intrigued by it, but didn't know how to go about getting into it. Didn't know where to begin with that,
Mm.
But what I did know how to do was music, and that was expression. It's all about expression at the end of the day. As an artist, I feel like you want to manipulate reality as much as possible. That's what we do. We tune into different frequencies and we manipulate them. Sound, visual arts, and acting kind of almost happened by accident, because I spent so much time in visual arts. Once I realized that you can make a career being an artist, commercialized. I studied visual communications, graphic design, and I made music. And I really got into that because I was doing so much music that my parents said, "Hey, listen, this is good," and they were fully supportive. Nothing, I'm not taking anything away from their support, but they were, they say, hey, this type of career, maybe you should consider something to fall back on just so you can make money, which they were right. So I'm glad I did, and I studied graphics, and I was really good at it. But I never stopped making music because that was always a passion of mine. But once I got into that field, it turned into a full blown career of me as a designer and doing video editing, and and then you get caught up in the whole trying to make money and pay bills and just live life.
Mm.
Um, and then what happened, and then I owned a studio at one point in New York. For those, I didn't touch on this, but when I moved to the States, we moved to New York. Um, and then when I was living there, I've always been, I don't know, business savvy, I guess. So I started a studio. I used to cut hair, which is artistic in itself, for real.
Yeah.
And just had that barbershop, saved up money, and I got a studio going. And then in the studio, I used to have all type of clients. I had this one particular client who was an actor, and I thought that was so cool. Like, you're an actor? Like, wow, yeah. I used to edit his reels and his business cards, stuff like that. And he told me back then, was like, Kev, you ever thought about being an actor? I was like, no, not really. He's like, man, you got the voice, you have the look. I think if you did it, you would probably get booked. Like, I work with people and you're fun to be around. That's a big deal for us, like, because you spend a
Yeah.
lot of time on set with people. You kind of gotta like them, or else your day is gonna be hell. He used to tell me, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And he told me about Actors Access, and it went like this. You know what I mean? I'm just at the
You're
time.
not in the zone for that. Yeah.
Not in the zone for. I thought it was interesting and I thought it was cool, but I didn't lock in on that. And, God has His purpose for everything. Fast forward, that studio ended up getting robbed while I was on
Mm.
vacation, or a work trip. I don't quite remember, but I was out of town. The studio got robbed. At the time that studio got robbed, they took my livelihood. I
Oh
have
man.
hard drives with all my work.
Ooh.
I was shooting my own music videos, I had like an internet radio station we used to do there. Gone. All that stuff was gone. And from there, I'm just gonna fast forward because it's a really long story, but brought in some business partners that didn't really work out to help me get back on my feet. And one of my clients said, hey, look, man, they had operation in Atlanta. They asked me, it's like, hey, look, man, we're based in Atlanta. We could really use you. I know you're trying to get back right. Maybe if you come work with us down here, you could just step back from having to run that business for a while and come work for us. I looked at that as a opportunity to, one, start over, and two, learn, because if you think about it, I was just always on my own, just like saving money, buying equipment, making it, just kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say a hamster wheel because I was progressively moving, but the wheel was moving slow, right?
Yeah.
You can't really grow if you don't have influence of people smarter and better than you around you to teach you. I
Mhm.
was just learning off the internet, YouTube, and what I learned from school.
Yeah, like mentorship or somebody to help you, you know?
You're right, right. Especially in business. So I believe that taking that job was the best decision for me at the time because it allowed me the opportunity to grow, use bigger equipment that I would have never had access to. Work and be in rooms with people that I would never be in on my own unless I put in 20 plus more years of doing it on my own. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I would never get there, but it would be a lot harder and longer to do that. So I feel like taking that job allowed me the opportunity to get mentored, to grow, to not worry so much. And now I have budgets. Like, oh, you need to we have to spend this $30,000 by the end of the year, buy some stuff, or else we're just gonna. I'm like, what? Sure, I'm going like, and I saved them
Free
a ton of
money.
money. Yeah, I saved them a ton of money because I was used to having to hustle and find stuff cheap. So I ended up getting so much equipment. They're like, damn, you got all of this for this price? Like, yep. Stuff like that,
Yeah.
And it allowed me to grow a lot as an artist. And things with that job right around COVID started to, I don't know, right before COVID, I would say, because prior to this, so this is back to the acting because I got off track.
Mhm.
But this sets it all up, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's intertwined, music and
It's
acting.
intertwined,
Yeah,
right? So this is
yeah.
how it came to be. So right prior to COVID, I was in a relationship at the time, and I did not know this when I moved here, but Atlanta had a thriving film community that I was completely unaware of. Now, mind you, I was already running the creative department at this company, so I was very familiar with the process of films and just the whole process of what it's like to be on set. At least so I thought, right?
Mhm.
So I saw a post on I don't know if it was Instagram or something. This was in 2019 for Tyler Perry was looking for extras for a show, but the description sound pretty much like me of what they were looking for. I was like, that's interesting. Man, maybe I should apply for this. Dismissed it after work, whatever, whatever. The girl I was with at the time, she she would never ever in life do this. But she sent me that same post and
Wow.
was like, hey, you should probably apply for this, right?
Hmm.
I was like, maybe, yeah, maybe. And I had another friend who was also used to tell me when I was here. He was in film in the community, and he used to always tell me I should be an actor, whatever. He sent it to me. He was like, Kev, you should probably apply for this. So I was like, damn, that's me and two other people confirming. Let me do this. So I apply, and I get it, right? So I'm like, oh, cool, I'm booked to go on a movie set. Boom. So this is a moment that changed my life. I get booked, and it's my very first time doing anything. I'm on a Tyler Perry set, and I get to go to Tyler Perry Studios. So God knew what He was doing because God had to show me what's possible for me to get into my purpose, right?
Hmm.
So I'm on the bus now and I'm looking around like, wow, this is a whole other world. And I'm seeing the buildings and how they got this building that looks like a city. This looks like this. We're outside. So the room where we're going to film, we go in this building. I'm like, wow, that's a whole bedroom. Now I know what I'm looking at because I say, okay, so that's the line, right? That's the wall right there. Okay, so the cameras are, oh, the light. Oh, wow, they don't have no ceiling. So you can put the lights. Yo, that's so smart. Like I'm seeing
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
like, yo, that's
learning.
smart. Yeah, I'm learning. And I was like, so I was just like, man, they didn't do all this in college and I'm getting paid to be here. So I'm on set just like really soaking this all up. And I'm just like so impressed with what I'm seeing and how is so many people coming together to make this one project happen when I'm used to a small team of me and maybe two other people
Yeah.
running something. And then while
Takes a
I'm there,
village, bro. Takes a village.
takes a village, right? So then I
Mhm.
see I'm on there, Tyler Perry's walking down the thing. He's like, hey, nice to meet you. Thanks for being here. And I'm like, wow. So I leave now and I'm like, wow. The very first day I applied for anything, I show up and I'm in Tyler Perry Studios on a set and I meet this guy.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't
like,
get better than that.
right. I mean, now that I know it does, but it's just kind of like, it's like that was a start. That's what God did, I think, to open my eyes for one and to, set me on path of my purpose because I feel like that moment allowed me to see what was possible and learn so much and just kind of install that motivation for me to go after my dreams and see how fun this is. So I for once in a long time found something I could be excited about, a new passion, a new journey. So with the company I was in, I learned that what we did at that company, we did something called edutainment. So we worked with a lot of network marketing companies, and we were, I don't know, we would put on these shows, plays, and live events, teaching people through entertainment. But I was more on the crew side. I wasn't in front of the camera or on the stage. There's a very talented man by the name of Greg Ammerman. He was the one that actually was doing most of that, and I've seen top agents within many of these network marketing companies start in the program and go from 0 to 100. People who started as a regular person, now they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, some of them, just by going through a training program and sticking with the system that he was teaching.
Mm.
So I said to myself, well, wow, I've been with this company learning from what they're doing for the past, at the time was probably like 7 years, 5, 7 years, a while, long enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this was right before COVID too. And I was like, man, all I have to do is follow the system, get training, learn, and and grow and commit to at least 5 years before the perception of what you do changes. The 5 year plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen people is like, yo, listen, like for example, one of the things that company did was credit repair. One of the network marketing companies, credit repair. So for you to become the credit guy, it takes at least 4 years for people to start to trust you because they see consistency, right?
Mm-hmm.
They see you, putting in the work over and over. Now you build trust. Now you're no longer new. Then before you know it, you're the credit guy. So I was like, okay, so all right, so it will be 5 years for me to be the actor guy.
Yeah, you're kind of like basing it off your previous experience with another occupation.
Exactly. So I
Yeah.
said, okay, if I get trained and I stick with it and I do the right thing and I learn the business of acting and filmmaking, I can apply that same method here. So I went, got into training, tried different acting schools, background, whatever, just whatever I needed to get in, right? Um, uh, COVID happened actually. So now we were able to work from home. So now I have time to
Yeah.
go out there and really do what I'm doing. So that was a blessing in itself.
Mm-hmm.
I show up on set one day, as a background, um, and then I got bumped up to be the club owner. And while I was on this set, I meet this long-haired Palestinian-looking guy that comes up to me and he's like, he's like, long hair don't care, huh? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, whatever. He's like, oh, you Jamaican, huh? And I'm thinking I'm masking my accent perfectly. I was like, how you know? He's like, well, my best friend's Jamaican. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
for real? So we got to talking and follow each other on Instagram. So now, mind you, at this point, I'm maybe, I don't know, a year and a half in, almost, maybe about a year and a half in. So I'm developing, like I said, sticking to my 5 year plan. So now I'm starting to get auditions now, right? Because I have
Mm-hmm.
enough little stuff and I'm understanding things. I created my own reels just because I know you needed them. And I had all the equipment, I had the studio, I had everything. I created my own little stuff just to be able to have something to show people. So I started to get auditions. So now I'm like, oh, self-tapes. What's that? Damn, I got to do a self-tape. So I post a story, say, hey, I need readers. Like, who's going to help me with this? This same Palestinian guy decides, hey, man. He hits
I
me on
wonder who that is.
Instagram. He hits me on Instagram and he's like, bro, listen, man, I'll be your reader, man. Yeah, come check me, man. Like, boom. So he helps me with an audition. And he's like, hey, man, you should come to my acting class, man. I want you to meet a coach. And that's where I found a new home, like school-wise and community, you know. And yeah, from there, we've just, me and this guy, man, Chosy, we just been locked in. And he really just showed me the ropes with a lot of what I was doing with the knowledge he had, and now I'm at the position where I audition almost every day, and I've done plenty of stuff at this point that I'm able to do the same thing for others. You pay it forward. Now I have people coming up to me because now, what was it, 2019? So we got 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
Five, six
I'm the,
years. Yeah.
I'm on my 6th year. About 3 years ago, about 2 years ago, I was 3 years in. people forgot I did music, and it's like I'm the actor guy because I came in with a mentality different than a lot of other people. They're just playing around with it. I was serious. Like I
Yeah.
was not joking. You know, I took so it didn't take long for me to get my footing of like, yo, this is what I do and I'm serious about it. You know, I show up with a certain mentality on set. You know, I study, I'm prepared, I'm learning the craft seriously. You know what
You're
I mean?
invested. You're invested.
I'm invested, yeah. So I was able to get a solid foot pretty early. Probably than a lot of my other peers who've been doing it years longer than me because they just didn't have the same mindset. Um, you know, and then, you know, I remember when I first started, people were like, man, why are you trying to do this movie stuff? Like, well, you know, what happened to your music, bro? What happened to your DJing? Like, you know, and I was like, I still do that, but yo, this is what I'm on now. And it's like to look at myself 6 years later and people almost forget that I was ever even doing that. It's just
Wow.
like, bro, Kev's an actor. That's what he does.
Yeah. Shout out to Malik Ali at Acts of Freedom, man. That's the
Yeah,
coach.
that's the coach, man.
All right,
Shout out to the
I
coach.
wanna go to the project that Bound by Betrayal that we worked on together.
Yeah, yeah,
And let me just share this trailer. It's part of the, I guess, fundraising, right? We try to raise funds for post productions.
yeah.
So let's play it, then you can talk a little bit about the film. I think we have some time. So let
All
me
right.
just put that in there. All right. So I'm going to go full screen and I'm going to play a little bit of this. So let's see.
Somebody help!
Trust is a dangerous currency. In this world, betrayal has a price.
No, 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 no. Oh my God, Michael, why have you done?
Man, shout out to John Joyce for John Drosy. I always mess up his last name. Forgive me, brother.
Yeah,
John Drosy.
Androsi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he for putting that together, bro, and believing in me to carry that project and for allowing me to recommend a lot of the peers that I know were trained to audition for it. You know, everyone auditioned, but you know, he saw the hustle. I met John through another friend of mine, and he followed the career and you know, just the hustle and the grind. And man, and he created that around me, man. He's like saw something in me, and you know, believed in what I was doing, and I felt blessed to be able to and Tate too, bro, because I like even Tate. I remember he met Tate because we did another project together. I was just I played a small role, but I was also the DP on that project called Adze, the African Vampire. And he you know, he Tate came in and played a small role in that as well. And he just could tell the difference about people who take their craft serious. And you know, a lot of that I would accredit to the system that Malik taught us, you know, about being prepared and training. So everybody that I brought from class to set was always super impressed. So he kind of created this series with us in mind. I mean, we auditioned, but you know, he saw what we did and he was like, okay, yeah, I'm making the right choice, you know? And yeah, bro, and that project is fun, really well put together. John didn't hold anything back. We shot it, it looks great. So now it's just like, you know, post-production stuff. So we're raising funds now to give it the best possible opportunity to be on a major platform, you know?
Yeah, and I'll share the link here. It will be down here, guys. I'll share the link so you guys can check it out. If you want to support the project and you know, do something about it to support us. You know.
Yeah.
So, all right, we got 15 more minutes. So, I want to jump to, you mentioned that God gave you the purpose, pretty much getting to all that. And the next segment in the show, I want to talk about faith. You said you
Okay.
grew up as a Christian, you were going to church. Speak about that more and how your walk with God is, what you believe, and how he inspired your life and how you try to walk in the same shoes as him. And like, just tell me about your faith in general and where it is today.
So, I want to say that I grew up traditional Christian, hardcore. If anybody is familiar with Jamaican Apostolic Pentecostal Church, it's very similar to what you would see as like, especially then. I don't want to say Amish, but like it was very strict. Like women were in church, their head had to be covered, long skirts, no pants. You know, it was forbidden to have long hair, no facial hair. This was like hardcore. Um, and then in the States, I was going to a Pentecostal church, which was not as hardcore as Jamaica, but it was still pretty strict. So I felt like, and I've always been the type of person who questions everything. And I feel like if I'm going to be 100% sold out on this, I need to know the opposite. Like, what are they, just to, like, you make informed decisions based on as much information as you have, right? I don't like to just blindly believe something because someone told me to and I should be. Like, why am I doing this? Why do we have to do this? And I feel what happened to me at one point in my life was I was forced to do things. For one, I understand now, having structure and rules helps you. It's good, right? But don't tell me that God said to do it and it's a God thing. No, it's not. It's not. It's for structure, and I don't want to necessarily say control, but it's to set you aside, and give you guidelines to follow to make sure you're staying on the right and narrow path. If I would have been told that, I would accept that. But when I'm
Some
told,
people use that for control, unfortunately, and try to give
right,
you that fear.
right. Oh, you're gonna go to hell if you do this. Well, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. You see what I'm saying? I like, because I probably was a little too smart for my own good, and that probably hurt me sometimes because I'm like questioning stuff. If stuff don't make sense, I'm not gonna just blindly do it. I was probably a little tough-headed too, and the problem I had also was I've always been the type of person that people listen to and kind of follow. So they will always try to shut me down when I had opinions, right? Like if I say something, they don't want me to say certain stuff in front of people because they'll start to listen to me. So they'll pull me to the side and like, hey, Kev, listen to this. So I'm like, but why not? Why would you do this? So so I remember I had a meeting and I don't know, I'm not going to even mention it, but what they told me was BS and I didn't like it. So I started to rebel a little bit, right? And I started to follow Rastafari to a point, which the more I dug into that, it was the same thing. That was a locks and I stopped eating pork and, cut out meat. And I was like, yeah, I'm changing religions, right? And the more I got into that, I realized, man, this is the same thing, like I don't understand here. Until I started to realize, like, no, it's not all about what God said or it's the Bible. It's just a way for us to differentiate this group from this group, and why you do things, right or wrong. It just is what it is. Every group has their thing. So as I've gotten more educated, I started to look at all sides of things, and I mean, every religion has things in it that make sense. Some don't make sense. So I would say now I just maintain I maintain a personal relationship with God. I would still consider myself Christian at heart, but am I your typical stereotypical Christian that I don't know. Some people might look at me from hardcore and say, how could you ever call yourself a Christian? And that's okay. I don't care what they think. You know what I'm saying? I have my own personal relationship with God. I pray multiple times a day. you know, and I have a strong relationship with God, and I move in faith, you know, and I feel like that same faith has opened so many doors for me. It has saved me from many bad situations just by listening to that intuition that God placed inside of me, that has kept me from many bad situations and led me into good ones as well. And I've always seen when I don't listen to God and just do what I want to do, even when He told me, it ends up showing why I should have listened, right? So
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. So where does the prophecy, Kev, like, because prophecy is kind of like biblical, like
yeah,
prophetic, kind of like God influence. So where does that come from?
so that name kind of came when I was a lot younger, actually, because of my religious past, right? And I would always speak life into things. Remember, people say like I've come to realize now that I'm the therapist for a lot of my friends
Mm,
by accident. You know, when people have problems, they tend to call me. Hey, Kev,
yeah,
what do you think about this? Because I give an unfiltered truth, unbiased reality to people, a reality check, but I'm not bashing them, and they know, hey, my heart is always in the right place. They know that about me. If you get to know me, you know, like, yo, I'm a good-hearted person. So if I'm telling you this, is from a place of love and not bash, right? So like most people, they don't ask my opinion unless they want the truth. So they just
yeah,
won't ask me. You get what I'm saying? So prophecy was just like, they would always, no, you're like a little prophet, man. Everything you say be happening, bro. It's like you see it, you know. I'm like, well, I do. You know, I listen to God, you know. So they just started calling me little prophecy, you know what I mean? So I kind of embraced it. Um, and it was just like, yeah, you know, prophecy culture. I used it as for music. And then now it's like, you know, it just kind of stuck. It's a name that was given to me because it's like I always speak life into things, and what I say always seems to happen. Like, if you come to me with that stuff, I'm like, yo, listen, if you keep doing that, this is what's and they're like, man, you a prophet, bro, I swear, you know. And that's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's just
It's
how the
like
name.
people coming to you for advice and they're going through something. That's crazy because that's what used to happen to me, and that's where chosi, like chosen, which in Arabic means al-mukhtar, and al-mukhtar
uh,
is the person who people always come to ask questions and get advice, and that's where chosi comes from, right? Chosen.
mm.
So it's crazy that you have the prophecy. So they called you Prophecy Kev, or it was just prophecy in the beginning?
It was actually just prophecy, and then I turned it into prophecy culture. See, as a I don't know, as a music name. Then I dropped it and I just kept Kev because my name's Kev and it was just easier and it was just too much. So you know, I'll just, you know, prophecy Kev, and I'll just started to run with that. Yeah, that's just kind of where it came from. You know, it was just kind of like a name that they gave me that people just kind of like, I don't know, gravitated to, like it fit me, and it was just like, yeah, that's, you know, that's prof, man. You know.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, man. All right, we got a couple of more minutes. I always like to discuss resistance, and every person has experienced a specific kind of resistance where the enemies try to come after you and you have to resist him, or resist people, or resist something that you can't put to the side, whether it's a substance or a person. Like, how was that in your life? Like, what's the best way to resist things, and what did you feel like you had resistance towards in your life?
Um, I would always say I've had resistance to negativity, bad energy.
Hmm.
You
Good
know,
vibes, man. That's why good vibes right here.
hey, listen, good vibes, man. That's why it's like prophecy, bro. It's like you don't even the name, like you don't feel comfortable around me. You understand? If you have, and it's like it's like I've always had a resistance to that. Not to say I haven't done bad things or been in bad situations, but it's just kind of like I've tried my best to resist negative people. I've always had a resistance to that because pessimism. I just can't tolerate it too much. You know what I mean? It's like, I always try to see the good in everything. And I've learned now, like, I try to take everything as if it's my fault, or how can I change my reaction to make it a better outcome,
Yeah.
So, I've always been resistant to that, and to influence that I feel is not of God, bro. Some things just don't need to be done or said, so I just
Push it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautifully said, man. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world. There's a lot of crazy people out there in the world. And you gotta decide what you want in your life and what you want to resist and throw away. And I
Right.
think every human that is aware of those things is probably dealing with some kind of attacks by the enemy and resisting those attacks in specific ways.
Right.
The best way for me to resist is those kind of like negativities, as you mentioned, is I pray a lot. I need to fast some more, but I pray a lot, and I try to be positive, because life can be very negative. There's a lot of things that can just happen all at once to you, like back to back, and you're like, oh my God, like, Lord help me, like, what is happening? And you're like, why is God doing this? And it's like, it's not God, man. Sometimes it's you
Right.
putting yourself in those situations, and sometimes it's just others that are evil.
Yep.
They try to destroy your life, and you just have to be aware. I think awareness is very important.
Very, very. And I feel like sometimes, especially now, the more you focus on those bad things, it's almost like the more you're attracted to you. The more you give it, what you feed grows. Where you water that energy is going to grow and flourish. So I think I've always been the type of person who tries to flourish and pour into the good so I can get more of that,
Yeah.
because every time I do the opposite, it's never fun.
It's never a good result.
Never a good result, ever.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kev, man. I really appreciate you spending an hour here on my show.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
definitely going to have you again. So I know we're still have a lot more to talk about. But thank you for coming here. I'm going to end this.
All right.
Guys, thank you for tuning in again. And make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. And just follow Profisi Kev. I'll put some stuff here if he wants to be followed on social media. Until then, see you next time at the next episode.
Peace.